Welcome to Sacred Soul Speak. I'm your host, Goddess the Guru, and here we energetically explore themes of sacred spirituality and commitment to consciousness. If you identify with these themes, join our cosmic community and stay tuned. Today, I'd like to talk about something that's a little bit taboo and that I don't hear people talking about often, and that is tarot addiction. Tarot can be a beautiful divination practice. It's often one that attracts beginners. I like to think of it as a gateway. And it's more popular than ever now because we are in such an energetically heightened spiritual time. And while I think it's beautiful that so many people are introducing themselves to divination practices, I also think that this can be a bit dangerous. We don't talk about tarot addiction that much, but I feel like this is something that a lot of folks struggle with. So why do people get addicted to tarot? I think the most obvious answer is that people are seeking something. They're seeking answers, seeking confirmation, seeking spiritual guidance, seeking peace, seeking a dopamine hit, that dopamine rush that you get from your drug of choice. So what's the danger in this? Well, the biggest thing is that the reading is always going to be influenced by the reader. And this means you need to be very mindful of who you're tuning into, who is reading. Particularly if you are not highly skilled in discerning energy, you need to be extra careful about this. Yes, tarot can be a beautiful divination practice that some folks are called to, that some folks are chosen to practice. Tarot is some folks' spiritual gift. It's not limited to tarot. If you have the spiritual gift of tarot, you read energy very well, so it goes deeper than that. But a lot of folks who have this gift, their preferred divination practice is tarot. That's great, that's fine, that's all good. However, there are folks who are not called to tarot, who are picking it up because it looks cool, seems interesting. Ooh, I'm into the witchy shit. There's those types of people as well. And we also have to be mindful that it's not just simply, okay, who is this person that's reading tarot, but also what do they have going on in their energy. Some folks have attachments to them, energetic attachments to them that are not of the highest vibration, and that may not even be aligned with your vibration or your path or your purpose. And if you are opening yourself up energetically to readers, which when you allow yourself to be read, when you tune in and you give your energy to something, especially if you're giving it on the level or the scale that causes some sort of addiction, or that is so imbalanced that it can be perceived as an addiction, that leaves you in a very vulnerable state. It leaves you vulnerable to the energy of the reader, vulnerable to the energies that are attached to the reader, and vulnerable to the energies of the reading. Not to mention that there is an aspect of channeling when it comes to tarot and many other divination practices. And this begs the question, channeling who? Channeling what? Do they know who and what they're channeling? Do you know who and or what they're channeling? And even if they or you don't know, that's not necessarily automatically a bad thing. It may be a benevolent energy that is aligned with you and aligned with the reader, but maybe both you and the reader are not cognizant of exactly quote-unquote who or what the energy is. So that's not automatically bad, but it's something to be aware of. And I feel called to say that this is also regardless of intention. There may be folks out there who have benevolent intentions when it comes to reading tarot. However, they have subconscious vampiric energy attached to them, and that vampiric energy comes through their tarot readings and messages. So if you're feeling like, oh, my preferred tarot reader, oh, she would never, she's not like that, she's pure intented, that's all well and good. But again, what energies are attached to that reader? And are you 100% sure that it is spiritually sound for you to open yourself up to those energetic attachments? Piggybacking off of this, again, not everyone is meant to practice any sort of divination, tarot specifically, but some folks are just not called, not chosen to be any sort of spiritual guides. But again, there is nothing that is stopping them from doing so. And even if they are not called to that, if they have an audience that tunes into them, they will continue to do so. I want to also briefly explore this idea of frequency, because a bad tarot reading can be a frequency attack, a literal spiritual attack. You have someone speaking over your life, declaring things to be true, and you are spiritually open, tuned in. And again, this doesn't even have to be something bad. This can be something that is perceived as good or marketed as good, but that is not in alignment with your path, with your purpose, with your highest and greatest good, with your calling. And I think particularly when it comes to tarot, there's this kind of desire to find resonance. What resonates with me? And often there's this tendency of a lot of folks, because there is this desire for resonance, we can try to make things fit that don't fit. And us choosing, knowingly or unknowingly, to resonate with a lowered frequency, or a frequency that is not a vibrational match for us, can be dangerous. So moving on from that point, there's also the fact that over-reliance on particularly someone else, someone outside of you, and their divination practices weakens your spiritual discernment and potentially even power. Particularly when we're talking about tarot addiction. Tarot videos can become a go-to whenever we are feeling any sort of discontentment or confusion in our lives. Confused? Go to tarot. Discontent? Go to tarot. Need guidance? Go to tarot. But any spiritual teacher, which I feel like the purpose of tarot is and should be spiritual guidance, which would make tarot readers spiritual guides. And so any spiritual guide worth their weight will guide you into yourself. Spiritual guides who want what's best for you, who want you in your power, will guide you to go within. In one way or another. That doesn't mean that they can't reveal certain energies or unveil certain energies in a reading that will guide you into yourself. Hopefully they do. But especially with the commercialization of tarot, and we are in very difficult economic times for a lot of people. Again, a lot of people feeling drawn to spirituality, this kind of new age spirituality. And unlike a lot of spiritualists, I don't condemn new age spirituality. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I actually think it's a beautiful thing when you take the tools that you can learn at the surface level, and when you choose to dive deeper and do the work. The only problem comes in is when people want to keep it about surface level things and don't want to do the actual work. There's all of this kind of bypassing that happens. So some folks, they might want to pick up tarot cards and they might want to pick up pretty crystals, but they will not do the shadow work. Or for others, it's not about the tarot and the crystals, but it's about amassing all of the spiritual knowledge they can. They're going to learn all of the universal laws, and they're going to learn about hermetics, and they're going to learn about metaphysics and all of these things, but again, they will not go in and do the spiritual work. That's where the problem lies. And so particularly for folks who are consuming tarot readings, be sure that you are not staying at this level and refusing to dive deeper and do the spiritual work. Be sure that you are cultivating and strengthening your own discernment. Be sure that you are cultivating and strengthening and nurturing your relationship with the Creator. And if this resonates, your relationship with your spirit team and or spirit guides. When it comes to tarot addiction, there is also the come down, right? Just like any other addiction where you get the highs, you're also going to get those lows. And this is a sign, this is a signal to you that it might be a problem. If you spend more time consuming this thing than you feel comfortable admitting in a public setting, I'm not saying automatically there's a problem. I'm just saying think about it a little bit. If it brings you very high highs where you feel really good, oh, this one resonated, and oh, yes, I can't wait for all of the things that the tarot reader said would come in, and then maybe days pass, weeks pass, months pass, maybe years pass, Maybe those things that the reader promised did not come to pass. And then there's the letdown and the sadness and the depression and the confusion. You were trying to make something fit that wasn't for you. You were aligning yourself with energies that are not for you. Be mindful if you find yourself experiencing expectation with attachment as a result of consuming tarot. Some may say, well, it's good to expect good things. I expect miraculous things to happen to me. And based on the universal law of assumption, they should happen, right? What's wrong with that? It's not necessarily about having expectations or expecting good things or expecting your desires to be fulfilled. It's not just about that. It's about being too attached to any particular outcome. Therein lies the problem. Particularly if that outcome is not for you. And just because that outcome is not for you does not mean that you are not worthy or deserving of it. There are times when you are worthy and deserving of so much more. And the divine wants that for you, but you are limiting yourself by attaching yourself to something based on your own lack consciousness. So you're sitting here watching tarot readings saying that your ex is going to come back. You're attaching yourself to that. And then when your ex does not come back, you're looking up at the creator and like, well, damn, am I not worthy of love? Whole time, the divine has a divine counterpart for you who is so much more aligned than your ex could ever be on their best day. But you can't receive that because you're too attached to your ex coming back because the tarot reader said that this time everything's going to be perfect. You see what I mean? As evolved and evolving spiritual beings, it is so important for us to practice detachment. Detachment to practically any and everything in this physical realm, including people, including places, including possessions. A lot of times we're facing karmic lessons because we're being urged to let go of attachments to things that don't resonate with us. But our clinging can lead us to feeling disappointment, confused. It can even cause a loss of touch with reality, which invites in mental disturbances. Particularly when you're dealing with unseen realms, and any sort of divination practices are going to dabble in unseen realms. These attachments can cause depression, can lead you to continually self-sabotaging on a subconscious level, getting in your own way. This leads you to wanting to control the outcome rather than surrendering to the journey, surrendering to what is. It gives you tunnel vision on something that potentially is not even for you. This is the energy of a lack of openness and a lack of receptivity. And receptivity is how we receive. It is so necessary for our ability to manifest in the world. These expectations and attachments can also create spiritual imbalance and blockages that then have to be released and removed and alchemized. And ultimately, it can just be a waste of your time and energy. And I feel like with this addiction, like many addictions, it's a lot of times something that we feel so attached to in the moment we don't want to let go of. But then when you do let go of it, you realize how much peace you have. How much of your peace was being robbed by this attachment. So, lightening it up and kind of summing it up, this is not to say that tarot is bad, you shouldn't consume tarot, you shouldn't practice tarot, whatever the case may be. To be honest, if you love tarot, I recommend learning it, studying it. Maybe you love it because you're called to read it. But again, use your discernment. And I think a lot of people say use your discernment. Even tarot readers, which I'm glad that they say this, they'll say take what resonates, don't try to make it fit, right? Take what resonates and leave the rest. Use your discernment. But I don't know if we talk about what this is or what this requires. I don't know if folks really understand how discernment operates or how their intuition or their discernment communicates directly with and to them. This requires some level of a spiritual excavation. It requires a deep seeing and knowing of yourself. And even as you're sitting down to tune into tarot, or as you're actively hearing, listening to, receiving the message, what are you feeling? What's coming up for you? How does your body feel? Is it goosebumps, chills, this resonates? Is it light bulb moment, aha, this is what that was about? Oh my gosh, thank you so much to this reader because I was completely missing this. Or is it a clinging? Is it attachment? Is it seeking? Is it a neediness? Is it an energy of desperation? Desperation to make a message fit? Is it desperation to have one particular outcome? Is it a seeking of something outside of yourself for answers, for empowerment? And this comes with some nuance, right? There's nothing wrong with quote-unquote seeking answers outside of yourself. Everything and everyone can be a teacher. I don't care if you're of the highest vibration, whatever. You can learn something from a crow on a power line, a homeless person on the street, a CEO, a grocery clerk. You can learn something from the wind, from the trees, from the bees. Everything and everyone is a teacher. So this is not to condemn, quote-unquote, seeking knowledge outside of yourself. But again, this is about, when I seek, am I doing it from a disempowered place? Or is my receiving of information, knowledge, guidance, something that happens as a way of me being open to different sources but listening with discernment and not being too attached to any particular outcome? Do I then take the messages that I receive from the tarot readers and go to the divine and ask for confirmation if I'm not sure? And again, how does the body feel? Is there anxiety? Is there a palpitation? Is your heart racing? Are you anxious? Or are you feeling grounded, calm, powerful? Is there a powerful embodiment? What has your energy been leading up to this? What did you learn, if anything? And if you did learn something, can you recognize or pinpoint that there were signs of this? That the divine was sending you signs of this and you were missing those signs, but you caught it from the reader? And if so, how will you ensure that you are more present and grounded so you don't miss those direct signs and direct communications from the divine, from the creator, from your spirit team, when they come to you directly? How can you ensure that you're not perpetually leaning on and relying on a middleman when spirituality is all about going within? I could go on and on, but hopefully those things gave you a starting point if this is resonating. Also, I want to say, please be mindful of predictive collective messages. Energy is energy. It's impacting us all. We're all interconnected. There is nothing wrong with a collective message. However, when we have collective messages that are predictive, and again, that's not to say it isn't valid. I see a lot of predictive collective messages saying, hey, the collective is going to be so wealthy and so happy and love is coming in. And I think particularly predictive and collective messages that are promising happiness and wealth and fame and fortune and the removal of all obstacles, that's not to say that those things aren't coming in. To be honest, for some collectives, I think they absolutely are, without question. We're in a time of karma, we're in a time of justice, we're in a time of balancing of the scales, and there are collectives of us who have gone through major injustice, who have gone through facing our own demons and shadows, facing others' demons and shadows, who have come out on the other side stronger after having put in the work. And so yes, in the spirit of karma and you reap what you sow and you create your own life, I kind of want to break down those topics in another video, but in the spirit of that, yes, a lot of folks are receiving great, grand, positive karmic rewards. Absolutely. I'm just saying be mindful of these messages, particularly if you are not of the collective that has done this work and has these karmic rewards that are due to you. Also, please be mindful of repetitive confirmations. generally when you have some sort of repetitive confirmation in your life, right, whether it's like I received this message and then it was confirmed on my way to work when I saw an animal across the street, and then it was confirmed here or there when I opened the YouTube app and a tarot reader popped up and said this, and then it was confirmed over there by, a stranger that I met. Generally that's a good thing. Generally that's like, oh, okay, this is confirmation, right? This is confirmation. But when it comes to repetitive confirmation via tarot, for me, the question is, if I find myself gravitating towards repetitive confirmation via tarot, the question is, why? If the divine already communicated to you that this is for you, and you've already received confirmation of this thing, why do you need to have it repeated constantly? And that's not to say there's no right answer to that question. It may be that there's a valid reason why you need this confirmation right now, right? Maybe you're struggling with faith, and the way that these confirmations are coming through are almost sort of affirmation or declaration or manifestation, right? You're using it as that because you've struggled with doubt, and so now you're using it as that. So again, all of this is nuanced. It's not about me saying there's a right or wrong answer, there's no right answers. It's not about that. It's about you discerning for yourself, you diving deep into yourself and figuring out where you're coming from, what energy you're approaching this with, and then figuring out if that is in alignment with your highest and greatest good. Do you need to quit overall? Yes or no? Do you need to pull back or fall back a little bit? Maybe you need to create boundaries for yourself around it because, hey, I'm looking within myself. I recognize that I have an addictive personality. I recognize that I get dopamine hits from this. I recognize the harms and the danger in it when it's practiced in an imbalanced way. And so in order to bring balance to it, maybe I need to limit myself to only videos that I feel truly, truly called to. Maybe I need to even skip over some videos that do feel like they resonate, just to get the algorithm to adjust to the fact that stop putting these tarot videos on my feed 100 out of 100, I fall back. I need less of that and more of something else, right? And then if so, what are you going to substitute it with? Maybe it's another type of video. Maybe it's not a video at all. Maybe it's meditation. Another, boundary you could set for yourself is, hey, I'm only going to watch X amount of tarot videos per day, week, whatever. It depends on where you're at with this. I think a lot of times with the repetitive confirmations of this is happening for you, this is happening for you, this is happening for you, especially predictive, this is happening in the future, this is happening in the future. I think sometimes we're clicking on the same message over and over, and it's almost like we're looking for more. It's like, okay, you told me that, and that gave me this feeling, or that either provided dopamine or gave me a little bit of a rush or a high, or whatever the case may be for you. And so we're just seeking that. Again, that's where the addiction piece comes in. And if I can get more confirmation and more clarity and more details, baby, you're taking the fun out of it. It's like you're taking the fun out of it. It's like, let the divine surprise you, especially if you are doing the work. And if you're not doing the work, you shouldn't even be really watching tarot videos. But if you are doing the work, let the divine surprise you. Communicate with the divine. Show me how good it can get. And also that expectation, if you have a confirmation that you're receiving a new level of abundance, you accept that message and confirmation. You're like, oh, okay, cool. You're happy about it, and you release it, right? Which is key to manifestation, is releasing it. You release it and you move on. You express gratitude and you move on. Beautiful. But if you're focused on it, you are too attached to it. You're holding it too tightly. Remember to practice that detachment, because if you don't, first of all, you're pushing it further away from you. You're likely delaying it. But also when it does come in, you're not going to be in the energy of gratitude as much as you would be had you released it. Had you released it, moved about your business, forgot, and it comes in and surprises you, bam, that's hella exciting, right? And there's this joy, and there's this awe, and there's this wonder, and there's this excitement, and all of these things that come along with it. But if you're holding it tightly and you're watching it, like watching a clock tick, when is it coming, when is it coming, when is it coming? When it does come, if it does come, because again, you holding it too tightly is pushing it away, but if and or when it does come, it's almost like, dang, what took it so long? You know what I mean? You're taking the joy out of it. Quick side note, I don't know if I finished this thought when I was talking about you're seeking extra details. You keep watching these repetitive confirmation tarot videos or listening to them, seeking more details, but you have to remember that a lot of the details may not be for you because it is a collective reading. So you're seeking extra details, you hear a detail, then you attach to it, and again, that wasn't for you. Okay. Moving on. So yes, use your discernment, be mindful of predictive, collective messages, be mindful of over-consuming repetitive confirmations, be mindful of how often you're consuming it, how you feel before, during, and after, and be real with yourself. Please be real. And take breaks, because I feel like a lot of times the breaks will kind of reveal to you where you are at with it in a way that is more obvious and transparent and authentic than you sometimes not acknowledging what's going on subconsciously for you because you may not be aware of it. So take breaks and remember to observe your why. Why are you clicking on this? Why do you want to see it? What is it doing for you? The last thing that I want to say is that I feel like the way that we practice tarot currently, and I'm speaking obviously very broadly, very generally, but the way that I see a lot of readers practice tarot to me has it's almost lost this sacredness. And it's not all, obviously, but I feel like the collective of tarot readers are practicing this predictive, I was going to say like lottery winning tarot, like, oh, it's going to be so great, everything is going to be so great. And there's not as much of the exploration in tarot of the duality, right, of the two sides of things. You know, everything has its yin and its yang. So I feel like that's something to be mindful of. Also, readers who focus so much on the 3D, right? You're going to have this car, you're going to have this house, oh, this person cheated on you. I feel like there's a lot of focus in the wrong area. In my opinion, the best readings and the best readers highlight energy dynamics that are at play and shed light on patterns for the purpose of giving you guidance that can help you to elevate spiritually. So if it's very surface level, if it's all about things that you're acquiring in the 3D or this specific person or that, if it's all good or all bad, be mindful of that. Also, one of the things I wanted to say in regards to readers influencing the reading, a lot of time there is an energy of the reader being tapped into their own energy and the energies that are attached to them or surrounding them, and you potentially being connected to their energy and them reading for that energy. But sometimes their own personal feelings influence the reading, and I feel like as you explore tarot meanings, messages, energy, sometimes you can see it happen and you can hear the bias in what they're saying. You can hear their desires in what they're saying, and so their desires are influencing the reading. There's times when they're pulling the cards, showing the cards, and the way that they're interpreting the cards comes from their own energy and desires. When I'm seeing the cards that you're pulling, and based on the energy that you're talking about, will these energies interact this way? And to me, these cards look like a little bit of a warning, but the person reading is reading it like, oh yeah, girl, you ain't got nothing to worry about because blah, 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 blah. It's going to be good. But again, each of those cards has light and shadow attributes. A lot of times what's coming out is the same energy, and I feel like because there's this capitalization of tarot, folks are incentivized to give the same reading over and over, especially if it's a reading that people like, enjoy, or a reading that is quote-unquote successful or does well. There's lots of likes, there's shares, there's comments, whatever the case may be. But again, personally, this is a little bit dangerous to me. There's such power behind tarot when we approach it from and in and with a certain energy. And I'm glad that there's so many different types of readers and readings that can resonate with so many. But I also feel like tarot readers have a greater responsibility to ensure that they are not doing more harm than good, and to ensure that they are not leading entire collectives astray with their own biases and attachments and desires, etc. Even if those are, desires to have a quote-unquote successful YouTube channel. So I'm going to keep making these messages even though XYZ. I have so much appreciation for the messages that I've received through tarot that have helped to inspire change in me, that have been a catalyst, that have been a reminder, a wake-up call, etc. And I honor that. And I also check in with myself and watch. And to be honest, a lot of times when you practice discernment, because discernment is a practice, a lot of times I don't even have to do this intentional, okay, sit down, check in with yourself. I know in my body, my soul, the way it stirs when it's like, it could be some food I'm putting into my mouth, it could be a tarot reading that I'm listening to, it could be whatever person that I'm talking to, I get this, and that's a flag to me, like, oh, hold up, what am I allowing in? So if any part of this message has resonated with you, this is a call to action. This is a call to action to practice discernment continually and to check in with yourself and be honest with yourself and dive deep and figure out what energy you're coming from when you're consuming tarot, and to be real about whether it's in alignment with your highest and greatest good, whether the pros outweigh the cons. To be real with yourself about how this has impacted your own discernment, your own spiritual knowing and power. This is a call to action to challenge yourself to break this cycle and to make a decision about what type of journey you want to have, whether this be a journey with tarot or whether this be your overall spiritual journey, and even considering whether you want tarot to be a part of it. As we come to a close, I'd like to give gratitude for all of the sacred souls sharing space and energy exchanging with me here today. May we lead with love. May we find freedom. May we align with abundance. May we possess higher perspective and persist in our power. May we continue to cultivate higher consciousness, progressing in our purpose and partnering with the divine to raise the frequency of the planet. Ashe and Namaste.